Economic themes expected to feature prominently in President Trump's State of the Union address tonight. The speech coming just days after the Supreme Court struck down the president's so-called reciprocal tariffs. Joining us right now is Jason Furman, former chair of the Council of Economic Advisors and Harvard's Kennedy School professor. Good morning to you. I imagine we will hear a lot about tariffs this evening. Curious as what your reaction to the Supreme Court ruling was and what you think the real implications are economically.
Yeah, I was pleased by the Supreme Court ruling. It felt like rule of law. It felt like a constraint on the variance we've faced. If the president's very determined, he can get a lot of tariffs. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get on a legally sustainable basis quite as many tariffs as before. But what he'll definitely lose is the ability to really arbitrarily and capriciously rapidly dial them up or down based on, television ads done by local government officials in our trading partners.
You're referring to Canada, I imagine, in that context.
Yeah.
So when you look, though, at the levers that he can pull, just walk through them for us.
Yeah, so he's already done tariffs under Section 122. That is a 10% tariff. Under the law, he could go up to 15%. He could go 150 days. But it's not clear at all that the law is being correctly applied. In fact, his own lawyers correctly in the Supreme Court argument conceded the point that there is no balance of payments deficit in the United States. We're not rapidly losing reserves, which is what that law was intended to deal with. So that's what they're using right now. It is limited, and it may be limited to zero if a court takes a serious look at it. Another is what?
Go ahead.
A second is Section 301 and 232. One is related to unfair trade practices. One is related to national security threats. Both of those are legally stronger, but they take a while to build the case. They're probably not unlimited in their application. You'll have a harder time getting to, say, Canada through these than a country like China, which is what they've primarily been used for to date. And you can't dial them up and down on a whim in the same way you can, the president did at least, IEEPA.
So when you think about that, what does that mean for the economy? What do you think it means for businesses, investment in business? There's obviously a lot of talk of uncertainty, but there's also a whole number of commitments that have been made both by companies to reshore in the United States, to move their supply chains in other parts of the world, and also major commitments, investment commitments that other countries have made in the United States, many of which have been unfulfilled thus far. But now I imagine there's a huge question mark as to whether they do ultimately get fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, first of all the issues we're talking about are measured in the tens of billions of dollars, maybe low, $100 billion range. This is then sort of chipping away at that. How much it chips away at that depends on what the president does about all of it. Is he eventually going to be looking for an off-ramp on tariffs? He didn't sound like it last week. He sounded really, really in love with them and really angry about the decision. But that's not a great predictor of where he's going to be 3 months from now as we get closer to the midterm elections. Affordability is the word everyone's using, and they really do link tariffs to the lack of affordability. In terms of plans and the like, I expect most countries to keep their existing deals, but then new deals will be sort of TBD and thrown into a certain amount of uncertainty as a result.
Jason, I know you're a critic of the tariffs on the whole. Is there any part of these tariffs where you say, you know what, they're working? They're raising money. They're bringing jobs potentially back. I don't know if you think you've seen that in the data yet, or whether you think you ultimately will see that in the data, which I know a number of guests have suggested will come. What is your take on that side of it?
Look, I think there were broadly three objectives. Number one was manufacturing jobs in the United States. We've lost jobs almost every single month since the tariffs went into effect. And there's good reason for that. You're raising the price of intermediate inputs. You're damaging the economy. You're hurting American exports. I don't expect that to get any better. Rationale number two was to lower the U.S. trade deficit. That didn't happen. We had the same trade deficit in 2025 that we had in 2024. Again, that's exactly what an economist would have predicted. Rationale number three is it's raising revenue. That is absolutely true. It is absolutely doing that. It's about the 100th worst way of raising revenue that I could possibly think of. But at some point there may be tough choices because numbers 1 through 99 may be even more politically difficult. So to me, that's the one legitimate argument. It's a little bit odd hearing it coming from a Republican president, but I'll take it where I get it.
Speak to this. Just in the last 24 hours, you saw the market yesterday. There has been a rethink, and there's been a big question about what's going to happen to jobs in the age of AI, whether we're actually going to have sort of rampant unemployment. Where are you on that? And were you surprised that the market sort of had this sort of, I don't know, knee jerk, but like jolt on one day over this issue based on that report? I don't know if you saw it yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I certainly saw the market, certainly read the report. I was surprised by the magnitude, but in some sense, you're in a moment where the right way to think about the world is not to be certain. It's to be much, much more uncertain than we've been, at least macroeconomically, at any time in my professional life. And when you're really uncertain, small bits of information, small hints, small things actually can change you. It's what's called like a flat prior, and you can update a lot. So did I change my view based on the report? No. But are we going to be in a situation where there's almost a certain rationality to volatility because there's no great reason to believe any particular thing about the future? Absolutely, yes. My own base case is pretty optimistic. We get stronger productivity growth, stronger wage growth, strong employment, but, who knows?